New at 11, a possible tornado caught on tape in central Virginia. 4 confirmed twisters tore through our area, perhaps more. I'm Stephanie Rochon.
And I'm Bill Fitzgerald. Those tornadoes were spawned by one of the worst storms to hit the mainland U.S. in decades.
That storm blew into town today and left damage all across central Virginia. We have team coverage of the severe weather. In just a minute, we go live to Angela Pellerano in a neighborhood with a lot of damage. But we begin with our chief meteorologist, Zach Daniel.
And we continue with a tornado watch. It remains in effect until 2 o'clock in the morning. All areas shaded in red. It has been trimmed back, and just recently, Richmond has been pulled out of that tornado watch. So some great news there. These storms continue to move off to the east. I want to head over and check some video from earlier today. This is as the storm was moving past. If you look at the very right side of your screen, there is the funnel. We've sped this video up some so you can see it, and we'll zoom in tighter for you, and you can see that funnel. This is right when the tornado was touching down near Brook Road and Brooklyn Park, and then the tornado continued and made another touchdown up around Laburnum Avenue, and continue to head on up north and east toward the King William. Again, there's the funnel there. Let's go back and check out a photo. This is sent in from Matt Siegel, and then this is an incredible view here. This is what we call a supercell storm, big mesocyclone, and there's the wall cloud. This is up in the Mechanicsville area, and can't really see here. It looks like you've got a rain shaft and potentially a tornado on the ground at that point in time. Again, several touchdowns, confirmed touchdowns here in the metro, and overall 6 tornadoes across the state since very early this morning. Let's head on over back to the graphics here and check out the latest. And here are your tornado reports. Again, quite a few in the metro and then north and east, and some down in north central North Carolina. And getting a check on what we've got out there right now in terms of actual storms across the area. Nothing severe at this point in time. Storms extend from the northern neck back down through New Kent, Charles City, a little bit south of the metro through Petersburg. And the biggest storms right now are south down around Emporia, Lawrenceville, and South Hill. These will have to be watched pretty closely. We'll talk more about these storms coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Zach. As we said earlier, people across central Virginia will have a lot of cleanup tomorrow.
The storm cut a swath across central Virginia from Mosley and southwestern Chesterfield to King William County. Especially hard hit a 5-block area near the racetrack in eastern Henrico County. That's where we find our Angela Pellerano. Angela?
Good evening, Bill. I want you guys to take a look at this house. Check it out. Fortunately, the people inside that house were not injured. No one was harmed, but this is the kind of damage that we saw throughout Henrico County today. The good news in all of this is that there were no injuries, but 63 homes were damaged. 3 of those homes deemed uninhabitable, and one of those homeowners is being taken care of by the Red Cross. Now, the fire chief tells me that this street, Fenwick Street, got the brunt of the storm. Tonight, a witness and the damage.
Well, I seen the tornado when I was at 7-Eleven.
That's when Alexa Edwards knew she had to get in the car and rush home.
And when we got along here, that's when everything started swirling and everything started, her roof blew off. Her roof blew off her house, and the sparks started coming from the wires, and the tree fell over.
Edwards says the storm lasted a matter of seconds.
You could see it in the sky, and it had a little peak down at the bottom.
But it left a path of destruction, from damaged cars to damaged homes. Trees snapped off like toothpicks, and tree limbs strewn on neighborhood streets and yards. Jamie Webb was inside his house when the storm hit shortly before 5 p.m.
And all of a sudden, it just got louder and louder and louder, and it sounded like that. They say it sounded like an actual train coming over top of your house.
The next thing you heard was a loud boom.
The house actually shook, and when I tried to get out the door, I couldn't get out because there was trees and debris all in the door, so I had to actually force my way out of the door.
Despite the damage, he says it could have been worse.
I'm just glad my daughter and my family's okay.
And we are back here live on Fenwick Street at a house that was damaged pretty badly, but fortunately no one was injured. Now, Henrico Public Works has been out here cleaning debris from the street all evening long, and they will continue to do so starting tomorrow morning. Now, there are still some power outages, we're told by the fire captain, Chris Buren, here in Henrico County, and he is warning folks to stay away from those dark areas unless you are accompanied by a police officer or someone from the fire department. Live in Henrico County, Angela Pellerano, CBS 6 News. Let's send it back to you.
Thanks, Angela. Thousands of people in our area still without power due to the storms. According to Dominion, about 6,647 customers still in the dark right now. The company says its crews are all over the metro area working on getting that power restored.
People in the North Richmond neighborhood are relieved tonight, saying it could have been much worse. Mark Holmberg reports the storm toppled large trees just a few yards away from the Children's Hospital of Richmond.
As the potentially deadly twister skips capriciously through Northside, the view from downtown is only somewhat ominous. Beautiful, really, said those of us who gathered on Sunset Hill to watch. And while that first skip on Brooklyn Park Boulevard was powerful and damaging, the tornado's mercy was bountiful.
All I could say was thank you, Jesus, and I kept running.
Tossed trees mainly just brushed homes and poked out windows instead of human flesh. Flying fences didn't kill. And this massive tree just missed flattening this car and the young women inside.
All of a sudden, the wind started blowing real hard. The hail started hitting the car. The limbs of the tree started hitting up against all the windows. And next thing I know, she stopped the car, and the big tree fell in front of us, and another tree hit the back of the car, and the window busted out. And then it stopped. We got out and ran to the Children's Hospital.
I'm still alive, and that's a blessing, because it could have been the other way.
Praise God, said one worker at the Children's Hospital, where the tornado briefly danced just outside.
Now look at where this tree was broken off right here and dragged right along the ground.
You can see the circular path of this stump.
Now this gazebo right here was over there about 25, 30 yards away. Employees frequently sat there. Luckily, no one was when the storm hit.
City crews and power workers hustled in to clean up. A frequent comment was, it could have been so much worse.
But some said stop, so I stopped.
What was that something?
It was the Holy Ghost.
Now we've all heard those voices in our head. Pays to listen to them. Here on Brooklyn Park Boulevard, Mark Holmberg, CBS 6 News.
The storms also ravaged Ginter Park neighborhood. Now the people who live there are wondering, who do they need to call, and will the city help them pay for repairs? Our Sandra Jones spoke with that area's city councilman.
We're here at the corner of Hawthorne Avenue and Ladies Mile Road, where there is a considerable amount of damage. People have been stopping by all day long, taking pictures in disbelief as to what happened here. A powerful storm blows through this Ginter Park neighborhood. You can see a number of downed trees and power lines. The force of the winds ripped trees out of the ground, snapped them in half, while tree limbs littered front yards. Neighbors tell me what sounded like a thunderstorm turned into something much worse in a matter of minutes.
I think first and foremost, I'm thanking God that we have no loss of life.
City Councilman Chris Hilbert, who represents this district, says crews are out assessing the damage. And even though it's too early to say how much it will cost, the city has a rainy day fund it can tap into.
I would guess that this will be in the north of $1 million at the very minimum of removing these trees and planting new ones and the personal property damage, certainly.
Chris Hilbert tells me if you have downed trees or damage in your yard, you should call 311 and it will prompt you to the Department of Public Works. Someone will come out and assess the damage. If you see downed power lines in your neighborhood, stay away from them and call 911. In Ginter Park on the city's north side, Sandra Jones, CBS 6 News.
CBS 6 Director Matt Siegel sent in these pictures of storm damage at the Mills Trace apartment complex off Cold Harbor Road in Hanover. You can see where a tree fell and smashed into the side of the building. There's some power lines down. There was also a wrought iron fence that was completely ripped out of the ground and thrown on its side.
A man in Hanover County says he heard that chilling sound like a freight train as the tornado shook and damaged a moose lodge and VFW in Hanover this afternoon. Shelby Brown shows us what happened.
When that severe weather rolled through Hanover County, Mother Nature definitely left her calling card. You can see here that trees were snapped all around this property just off of Cold Harbor Road. This is the VFW building. We want to show you some of the damage that was done. You can see some of the trees still down here. Now, we're told also by the fire battalion chief that there was some damage done to the top of the roof. And get this, there were people inside of this building when that happened. This is the VFW building. You can see that the letters have been blown off and there's debris everywhere. We're told that those folks who were inside, though, they did the right thing when they were inside. They heard that sound. There were tiles that were falling inside of the building, so they got to the center of the building and they took cover, and for good reason. As you can see here, this is some of the debris from the top of the roof that was peeled off. You can see the debris here on the ground. Those folks inside were lucky, but we're told that they did exactly the right thing. And this is just one example of how strong those winds were during this severe weather situation. You can see something as simple as this little, it looks like a twig, but it actually became a missile once it was flying through the air with the rest of the debris. You can see here it actually got lodged in the side of this metal building here at the VFW building, and folks that live nearby say they definitely heard it. In fact, we spoke with one man, Donnie Bradley. He tells us that his trampoline was lifted about 150 feet in the air and was tossed across the interstate.
It came through the trees by our swimming pool. It leveled everything at the swimming pool. It went across the pond and out through the tennis courts across 295. And we have a trampoline, and it lifted the trampoline up above the trees and came across 295, and it's embedded in the fence over here.
Hanover County's mobile command unit was set up for most of Wednesday, and they tell us that they have assessed the situation at the schools, and they tell us that luckily there has been no damage to any of the schools, so that on Thursday school will be in session. They say despite the damage, they feel lucky because they didn't have any fatalities to contend with. Reporting in Hanover County, Shelby Brown, CBS 6 News.
For complete coverage of the tornadoes, including video reports and viewer pictures, look no further than WTVR.com. A brazen bank robbery in broad daylight. Is it connected to a recent Hollywood-style heist? Henrico police say 2 gunmen robbed the Bank of America near the intersection of Patterson and Forest Avenue about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Investigators say both suspects were dressed in ski masks and they drove away in a white Crown Victoria. A short time later, police found the getaway car in a parking lot off Monument Avenue near St. Mary's Hospital. They did arrest 1 person. The description of the suspects, the style of the bank robbery, and the getaway car matched that of a heist that took place at a Village bank in the county 2 weeks ago. CBS 6 News was the first station to obtain this surveillance footage of that robbery.
New at 11, new allegations made tonight against a Richmond area rental company. One day after we showed you roaches inside a woman's kitchen, a local college student and her cousin have a story to tell about dangerous gas leaking into their apartment. Katie Beck is live in the newsroom with the story. Katie?
Well, Bill, these 2 cousins are very relieved they found out about the leak and got out. But now that they have no place to go.
And I have nowhere to stay. I've been missing class.
College student Lauren Tucker has been homeless for almost 6 days.
I have to spend $60 a night at a motel, and today I can't spend any more money, so I have to go back home to New York.
She moved to Petersburg in September to live with her cousin and attend Virginia State University. They say the apartment Space Properties rented them wasn't what they'd been shown, and it had bugs. But they said another problem was more dangerous.
And it got cold outside, so I cut the heat on. The next morning, my nose was bleeding.
So Tucker's cousin Danny Oliver made a trip to the emergency room. Nosebleeds led to a second visit. His symptoms caused the hospital to test his blood for carbon monoxide poisoning.
And this was because of a nosebleed that you went?
Yeah, I went all because of a nosebleed.
The test results aren't back yet, but in the meantime, the gas company tested the apartment and yellow tagged it as uninhabitable.
Any time we would put a tag of that sort is because we believe that there might be a safety issue.
The 2 say they have repeatedly contacted Space Properties.
They will not place me in another apartment until it's fixed. They don't want to make any accommodations. It's just, that's my problem and that's it.
Adding insult to injury, Space has threatened to take them to court for being late on the rent. Meanwhile, Oliver's spacious property is his car.
I have to brush my teeth at work, and they're like, what are you doing?
The 2 hope somehow they'll get help.
Someone needs to come shut them down, and in the meantime, they need to return our money.
Again, our calls to Space Properties go unreturned. Another thing to note is that we did an interview in August, a former maintenance man for Space Properties. He told us he had been asked to tear off gas leak tags and had done it countless times. Tucker and Oliver told me today they see the same practice at their complex as well. Steph?
Thank you, Katie.